Welcome to Beardy, Bruce Lee Central.
Hey everybody, it's Birdie here. What's going on, guys? Okay, so good old Chuck Norris. We all know him, we all love him. But I have a feeling you're not going to agree with him on this one, okay? So, good old Chuck has a bizarre theory concerning Bruce Lee's death. So, let's take a listen to what Chuck Norris has to say about Bruce Lee and Bruce Lee's death.
I look down and I see Bruce Lee sitting down. And I said, oh wow, and because I'd never met him. I'd seen him, doing his stuff. And anyway, we kind of nodded at each other. And then I fought and won the championship. And Bruce Lee goes like this here. So I go down there and get off, and we start talking. And he says, don't you live in LA? I says, yes. He says, I do too. So why don't we start training together? I said, okay. So Bruce and I worked out for 2 years together. He taught me a lot of his Chinese techniques, and I showed him a lot of our techniques of kicks and all the stuff here. He believed in only kicking below the waist. And I said, well, that's good, Bruce. He said, you should be able to kick anywhere. You should be able to put that foot anywhere. And so, so we trained together for 2 years, and he got, as you can tell, he got really good at it. and anyway, and then finally he gives me a call, and he says, I'm leaving for Hong Kong to do a movie. And I said, oh, that's great. Well, good luck. So I don't hear from Bruce for 2 years. And then out of the blue, he gives me a call. He says, I've done 2 movies in Hong Kong, and they're really successful. He says, I want to do a movie now with a fight scene that's never been done before, and I want you to be my opponent. I go, and I've never done anything like that. I said, why? Because I'm the world champion? Is that And I said, well, who wins, Bruce? He said, kidding. He said, I'm going to win. I'm the champ. I'm the winner. I'm the star. I said, oh, okay. So anyway, Bruce and I, did this big fight scene in Rome, and it was really. Because Bruce and I worked out for 2 years together, so we knew each other very, very well. I knew everything that he wants to do, and he knows everything that I like to do. And so when we did the fight scene, we pretty much just put it together right there. And anyway, we did the fight scene, and after it was over, I went back home, and then. In 1972, I get a call. Bruce is coming to LA to see his doctor. And he says, so he says, let's have lunch. So we do. We have lunch. And he says, I'm going to see the doctor, and because I've got some problems. I'm getting dizzy and passing out. So I want to find out what it is. So anyway, he goes to the doctor and does the whole thing. Anyway, after he does, we get back together, and I said, how'd it go? And he says, well, the doctor says, he's 32, he's the same age as me. We were both 32. And he says, the doctor says, I'm like an 18-year-old kid. I said, oh, that's great. And I said, did he tell you why you're falling and doing all the falling and all that stuff? He says, he doesn't know. He says, it could just be anything. So anyway, he leaves for Hong Kong. And a few months later, he passes away. And I was shocked. Anyway, when they went to Seattle, just laying there, and we all went up. Me and a lot of our friends that Bruce's went up there for the when he died. And Linda, his wife, decided to move back to California, and he found a home about maybe a half a block from my house. so I could spend time with Brandon, the boy. And I did. I spent a lot of time with him, you know, telling him about his dad and all this stuff here. And then, of course, he became a champion, star himself. And then, unfortunately, he wound up passing away. But the thing is that Bruce was an incredible guy, and this is, and this time I spent with him, going through this whole thing here, was something that I will never forget about. And so this is about Bruce Lee. So hope that tells you.
In fact, I was fighting for the world title, and that's when Bruce was doing the Green Hornet series, and he came back there as a celebrity guest. And after I won the title, the promoter introduced me to Bruce, and so we started talking about our philosophies in the martial arts and so forth. And anyway, we were both staying at the same hotel, the Americana in New York, and we started walking over to the hotel. As we got going up the elevator, I remember Bruce was staying on the 7th floor and I was on the 9th. As we got to his floor, we were really getting pretty involved into our conversation. So instead of me going up, I stepped out in the hallway with him, and this like 11:30 at night, and we started working out in the hallway. And next time I looked at my watch, it was 7 o'clock the next morning. And it was amazing because the guy he had so much knowledge and, as you know on the screen, ability, that it seemed like an hour had gone by as far as us working out and exchanging ideas. So he said, well, when we get back to Los Angeles, why don't we start working out together, which we did. When I got back, we started training together, and then the series was canceled, and he went to Hong Kong to pursue a movie career. When he went to Hong Kong, his first movie, the biggest grossing movie in Asia, before Bruce went over there, was The Sound of Music. It had grossed $2.4 million, which again was the biggest movie ever grossed in the Orient. Bruce did the first movie called The Big Boss, which over here was The Fist of Fury, and that one grossed $3.2 million, which is $800,000 more than The Sound of Music. Then he did The Fist of Fury, which over here was called The Chinese Connection, and that one grossed $4.3 million. And then he called me up and he said he'd like to do a movie with a real good fight scene in the movie. I said, well, the only way we can have a fight scene is if I get to hit you once in a while. And he said, well, yeah, naturally, we'd make it a back and forth type fight. So anyway, that fight scene that you saw took us 5 days to do, and in Asia alone, the movie grossed over $11 million. It's the biggest grossing movie in the history of Asia, and they don't think anything will surpass it for a long time. Then Bruce naturally did Enter the Dragon, which was his last movie, and it was probably the biggest grossing movie as far as martial art movies go. But Bruce was 32 years old. Let me explain something about his death too, because there's, I guess, so many rumors that are going about how he passed away and so forth, about touch of death and drugs and so forth. And so I'd like to clarify that before we go on with the demonstration. Is Bruce in 1968? Well, he's pretty heavy in the weightlifting, as you could tell. He was very well built. And he was lifting weights one night with Karim Jabbar, who was a student of his when he was in Los Angeles, playing at UCLA. And he tried to lift too heavy weights, and he ruptured the disc in his back, and he was laid up in the hospital for 3 weeks. In fact, the doctor said that they didn't know if he'd be able to walk again or not. But of course, with a person like Bruce, who's got the drive and determination to achieve anything in life, he was up in about a month, and within 3 months, he was as strong as he ever was. But he had constant back pains from that day on, and he was having to take medication to keep the muscles in the back loose and relaxed. So what happened is that when he was in Hong Kong preparing for his next movie, he was working with a girl named Betty, and who was going to co-star with him, and he got a severe headache. So Betty gave him some antibiotics for the headache, and with the medication he had taken for his back and the medication he had taken for his headache, they reacted to each other and made his brain swell up, and it created an aneurysm or ruptured blood cells in his brain, and that's actually what happened. So if anyone asks you what happened, that you can tell them the true story.